Welcome to Pate, and this is in the measuring unit for Pastry Chef. Pate is French, and it's a light pastry dough, and what makes it unique is we're going to cook the dough before we bake the dough. Now for this lab, we are going to make cream puffs, and this is a 4-day lab, which sounds like a lot. The first day is prep, so that part's a no-brainer. The second day, we are going to make the cream filling for our eclairs so that can be nice and cold. The second day, we're going to make our pate, make our eclairs, and then the third day, we will fill the pate or the eclairs with the cream and frost them. So today I have Miriam here. She's going to help assist with this, and we are going to start by making the vanilla cream. All right, so our instructions say that we need to make an ice bath, and so Miriam has already done this for me here. Okay, so we have a bowl of ice water, and we need a bowl inside it with a strainer. All right, so this is ready to go, and the purpose of this is going to be to stop the cooking process immediately so that nothing gets burned or curdled. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we need to combine some egg yolks with a whole egg and 1 tablespoon of sugar. So I'm going to have Miriam help here. I have a handy garbage bowl where I just throw garbage. So we need 3 egg yolks, so she can start on that. And we also need a whole egg. So she'll work on the egg yolks while I work on the whole egg. Okay? And we need the yolk. So what we're going to do, all right, go ahead and put that in there. And we're going to do this. Here, we'll take that off because we need the whole egg. And we need 2 more egg yolks. And I'm going to hold this over this bowl for her because we need the yolks, not the whites. Okay, there's our second egg yolk. All right, and our third egg yolk. All right. So the next thing we need to do is we need to incorporate that with 1 tablespoon of sugar, and we have already pre-measured that. So Miriam's going to start whisking all of this together. Now, sugar and egg yolk, if you whisk them, they're going to become pretty fluffy, and that's what we want to do. We need to make sure all of that sugar is dissolved and whisked into those egg yolks. Okay, so she's going to do that. So what we're going to do now is we are going to add 1½ tablespoons of flour and 1½ tablespoons of cornstarch, and that's what's in this bowl. And she's going to make sure that is all very well incorporated. The purpose of the flour and cornstarch is going to be to thicken our cream filling, kind of like you would use in a pudding. This is similar to a pudding, but not as thick. Okay, so we'll be right back when that is all mixed. We just had an electrical issue. So anyway, a lot of times when you plug in the induction burners, you don't get power and you have to push the button on the outlet because it is tripped. Okay, so we're going to turn this on. Medium is 10. So medium high, I'm going to put it about 14 or 15. And we're going to sit here and stir this until it starts steaming. So we'll be back in just a few minutes when this is steaming. Okay. We have this all stirred to a pale yellow, and what's interesting is so many ingredients have multiple functions. So in this, the flour is a thickener. When we make the pate, the flour will be our structure. In this, we also have sugar, which is going to make it sweet. Sugar can also be used to brown foods. It turns brown. So many ingredients have multiple functions, and you have to take a look at how they're being used in the recipe to determine what their function is. So we're going to set this aside. Okay, and now we are going to combine, Miriam, you can put the milk and the sugar into this saucepan. Okay, so something about milk, when you're cooking milk, you have to be very careful because it burns very, very quickly. So you need to babysit it. All right, it's very easy to burn milk, and then you have to start over. So we're going to stir this to dissolve that sugar. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to put this on the induction burner on medium-high. And since it's medium-high, it must constantly be stirred. Okay? And we will be, as you can see, our milk is steaming and it's actually getting very hot, so I'm going to turn that down for this next step. Miriam's going to keep stirring, and she is going to scoop about 1.5 scoops into this bowl. Okay, now, if you add this hot milk to these eggs, we're going to scramble them. So what we're going to do, is I'm going to stir constantly while she adds some milk, and this is called tempering the eggs. All right, we are very, very slowly bringing up the temperature of the eggs, and if you stir constantly, they won't scramble. All right, because scrambled eggs in your cream filling would just be kind of eggy. All right, so you can see it's nice and smooth. I'm going to slowly add this back to Miriam's mixture, and she's going to now stir constantly so she doesn't scramble the eggs. We will know if you did this step wrong if you have scrambled eggs in your vanilla cream filling. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to turn our heat back on, and we're going to keep it around medium. And we need this to start boiling. And again, you or your partner must be stirring constantly to keep this from scorching on the bottom. So Miriam's constantly moving across the bottom of the pan so that this doesn't stick to the bottom. And it's starting to thicken. You can see that we're getting some clumps in there, which is because it's thickening, which is what we want. She's stirring really fast, and it's going to start boiling. Okay, good. It's almost boiling. You can see the bubbles coming up. We're going to turn it off, and Miriam's going to instantly pour it into this strainer, because remember, we need to bring that temperature down immediately. Now the strainer is going to get out any clumps of starch that did not dissolve. Okay, and we're going to try to press this through the strainer. And we will be back when we have gotten all of this into the bowl. We have all of our cream filling in the ice bath getting nice and cold. We're going to kind of stir this a little bit to bring down that temperature. If your filling is nice and smooth like this one, you can just pour it right into the bowl and skip the entire strainer. Okay? So Miriam, what she's going to do now is we are going to add the butter and the vanilla. So she's going to stir those in while that cream filling is still nice and hot. Now, the reason you add the vanilla at the end is because vanilla flavoring will cook off, and you want that rich vanilla flavoring in your cream. So that's added at the end of the stage of cooking. Okay. Okay. All right, great. So what we're going to do now is we are going to cover this. Now, this would have been a little bit easier in a smaller bowl, but we're going to make it work. Now, pudding will get a skin on it, a dry skin that's really kind of gross. It'd be like peeling skin when you're sunburnt, all right, on top of it. And we have to store this until tomorrow, all right? So what we're going to do is we're going to get a piece of plastic wrap, and actually I'm going to get one that's a little bit bigger. And there are two things. You can either put the plastic wrap directly on top of the pudding, or you can spray it with nonstick spray and then put it on top of the pudding. Either one will work. But you want to put this on top of that pudding filling, not just wrap the bowl like you're used to doing. So what I'm going to do is put this on top of here so that this becomes the skin and your pudding does not dry out. So I'm going around and scraping the plastic down the side so it's nice and sealed around our pudding. Okay, and then I'm going to wrap the entire bowl. Yeah, we'll just get a new piece. And so, as you see, we have plastic over the actual filling and then plastic over the bowl. And so what you will do, and I don't see a marker handy, but that's okay. You guys already know this from basics. You'll write your class on this, your period number and all of that, and put it in the fridge for tomorrow. Day 2 of Pate Choux. Miriam is back to help again. And we are going to make our puff pastry dough. So the first thing we're going to do, and if you recall, I said what makes this dough unique is that we're going to cook the dough and then we're going to bake the dough. This dough has a high water content so that when it bakes, that water evaporates, leaving kind of a hollow space in the middle of your pastries. And then those get filled with cream, like a cruller. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put the water in here with the sugar and salt. Miriam can get those in there. And we're going to add a half stick or a whole stick of butter. And again, it needs to be butter and not margarine. All right? Butter is going to work better with all the flour and absorbing that flour than the margarine does. And it's going to give a nice, rich flavor. Okay? So what we're going to do, we'll put all these in our garbage bowl, which I tossed. Okay. We're going to put this up here, and we need to bring it to a boil. Actually, we just need the butter to melt. So Miriam can start stirring that, and we will be back when all of our butter has melted. Our butter is melted, so what we're going to do is we're going to turn the heat down to about 4. We're going to take it off the heat, and Miriam is going to stir and get this flour mixed in while I add. So go ahead and start stirring. You want to stir it right away. So this dough is going to appear very, very dry when it's completely done. However, it's going to be very high in fat. And right now we have a stick of butter in there, which is our fat. So Miriam's going to stir until this is all mixed in. So you're going to get your exercise making Pate Choux. It's a lot of stirring. Okay, she's going to put it back on the low heat. And she's going to vigorously stir, which means stir fast until it forms a ball. And hers is pretty close already. We're going to let her cook out a little bit extra of that water, but it's very, very close. Okay, this Pate Choux dough is very dry, and now the reason you have to do this on low heat is because it will scorch and burn to the pan. So Mary and I are switching jobs, and she's going to add 2 eggs in here. And again, I have to be stirring quickly so that we don't have scrambled eggs. So you're going to stir in 2 eggs, so you know from your nutrition information that eggs are very high in fat. So now we've added 2 eggs, and we still have that stick of butter in here. We're going to add this till it's all mixed in. And now you can see our dough has gotten a lot of moisture back. And now Miriam and I are going to trade places again. This will be great tag teaming for you and your partner because your arms are going to get tired. This is a very stiff dough to stir. Okay? So I'm going to add 2 more eggs. So this has a total of 4 eggs in it. Miriam is almost done here. So one of the reasons we add so many eggs, obviously the eggs add a lot of richness to the dough, but they're also your leavener because eggs are 75% water. And so when all that moisture from the egg cooks, it's going to rise and make the cream puff puff up. So when she's done with this, we're actually going to pipe our cream puffs. Now there are a couple ways to do this, and we like to show you ways you can do this at home so you don't need to go buy extra equipment. One way is to get a pastry bag and put the wide open circle on the bottom and pipe them out, but a lot of us don't have that at home. So one way to use is a Ziploc bag, and I'm going to cut off a corner with a knife, and a sharp knife would work better, but that did the job, so that we have a nice open circle here, okay? All right, so Miriam's Pate Choux looks beautiful. Bless you. Okay, nobody got that. All right, so we're going to put our dough in here. Now this is going to be hot. So we're going to close the bag. All right, and you'll need to get a baking sheet lined with parchment paper. Now, you do not want to put these real close together because they're going to puff up. Also, if this bag is too hot, you can wrap a towel around it because it is going to be pretty warm. And I may just do that now to demonstrate. And because the bag is hot. Okay? All right. So you're just going to squeeze. Okay? Okay? And you're going to do that until you run out of dough. Now, we will be back when I have the pan. Okay, you should get about 12 cream puffs, and as you see, I got 16, which means I'm going to have more mini cream puffs rather than full-size cream puffs. So it'll all work out. They'll just be a little smaller than the traditional cream puff. So what we're going to do is we are going to bake these for 15 minutes in a very hot oven, 425 degrees. And what that does is it forces the liquid in these to get really hot, really fast, and start puffing up. Then we're going to lower the temperature and cook it for another 15 so the dough can cook without burning. So we will see you when these are done. We are back with our pot of choux, and we have baked it, and it is cooling. And we have two other things going on. So this is your last day. This is day 4. All right, so Miriam here is heating up the heavy cream, and when it gets hot, she's going to pour it over the chocolate chips, and these are semi-sweet to melt them. And this, she is making a ganache, which is a very rich frosting. All right, so once that's hot, she's going to pour and melt. Meanwhile, I am going to get the cream filling ready. So yesterday we showed you how to use the Ziploc bag. Today I'm going to show you how to use a pastry bag. All right, so this is called a coupler. And the way this works is this goes inside the bag, and then this will go on the end, and this will screw on to hold it in place. So what I have to do is I have to cut off part of the bag. So I always tell students to start small, and we can always cut more. But if you cut too much, you're done. Okay, so I'm going to take the big end of the coupler and put that in the bag. And start pushing it down. And you see it's not even coming through, so I need to cut some more off. And you just go, see, that was perfect. That was just a little bit more. Then you put on your frosting tip, and you screw on the ring here, so that will hold it all in place. Okay, and we will be right back. As you see here, Miriam poured the chocolate chips into the hot cream, and she is going to stir until melted. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold back the top of this bag. And we are going to get our vanilla cream filling here. And if you recall, we put this over here so we didn't get us a dry film of skin over it, and it looks great. Okay? So we are going to put this into our bag. And you can see it got nice and it's set up very, very nice. Now, cream puffs, obviously these have milk in them. If you remember, the cream has milk, so these have to be kept in a refrigerator. They can't just sit out at room temperature all day at the bakery. All right, they have to be kept cold. So now we pick it up by that folded edge, and we can drop it down in here. You kind of get the air out, and I'm going to bring this bag back out, and I'm just going to squeeze some till it comes out. All right, so let's take a look at Miriam's ganache here. Okay. It's nice and smooth. So what we're going to do to make this easier to dip our eclairs is she's going to pour it into a shallow pan. Okay, if you recall, I said I made mini eclairs. When you put your pot of choux dough on there, you can make them much wider and a little bit longer, but we made bite size, so these would be great for a dessert bar. Okay, so what Miriam's going to do is she's going to poke a hole in each end of this using a skewer, but she does not want to go through to this side. She only wants to poke a hole in the bottom, and then I will show you what you do next. So she's going to open that up a little bit. Okay, beautiful. So one partner can be doing that. Okay. Now you're going to take your frosting tip. Now you twist the bag shut at the top, and that goes between your thumb and your index finger. And then you're going to squeeze. So I'm going to put the frosting tip in here and start squeezing until it comes out the other end. Or out the top. Okay, so it came out the top just a little bit, which is fine. I'll just go to this end and fill from this side. Okay, and so now it's completely filled with our cream filling. Okay, so we'll set that down, and I'll do this one. And since these are small, it may be better to go from both ends. Okay. Okay, then I'll go into this end and fill from this side. Oh, and look, see, it came right out. Beautiful. Okay. So what Miriam can do now is she can dip them upside down in here, and let me grab a piece of parchment paper real quick. Okay, while I'm filling, then my partner, Miriam, is going to turn them upside down, dip them, and then put them on the parchment paper to dry. Okay, so we're only demonstrating this with a few of them, just for the sake of the demo, but you would then do all of your cream puffs this way, and enjoy.